Episode 25, Unmuzzled Sports Podcast. I'm Gary Ray. Holy moly, we've got a whole bunch of hockey talk tonight on the show, starting with the go. Cambridge beats Caledonia, sweeps them 4-0. St. Catharines Falcons beats Ayr Centennials 4-1 to move on. Fort Erie Meteors beat the Brantford Titans 4-0. They sweep them. Pelham beats Port Colborne 4-0 for a sweep. We're also going to talk about fan abuse, both recent and a team with a reputation of notorious poor fan behavior. London and Stratford are going to Game 7 Wednesday night at the Allman Arena. The St. Mary's Lincolns take down the Strathroy Rockets 4-1. And in Rhett's review, we're going to talk about Chatham sweeping St. Thomas Stars. The Elmira Sugar Kings and LaSalle Vipers are all tied up at 2-2 with Game 5 tonight in Elmira. All that and more on the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast.
6 guys, 3 sports, no leash. This is the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast. Football, hockey, and baseball, the way it's meant to be. Loud, raw, and completely unfiltered.
Gentlemen, wow, have we ever been spoiled with great hockey over the past week? How are you two fellas doing?
Good, really good. And yeah. I can't believe this is almost the end of 6 months of us starting this great podcast. And
isn't it unreal?
It's been great. And I've heard a lot of great reviews, a lot of great comments from people. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's very humbling that every time we're in the rink, Shanker, when you and I are standing there, Halser, when you and Chess are over in St. Mary's with Rhett, it's just very humbling when people come up to us, the coaches, the GMs that have reached out to us. And we were able to go over Friday night before the Warriors game. Well, you guys stayed at the Lincoln's Rockets game, but I wanted to go over and personally meet Matt Bowes and Andrew Ferlat from the Strathroy Rockets. Just amazing guys and their staff, and so courteous to do a quick interview with us before we went over it and talked with Jeff Bradley. And it's just a great time to be watching the GOHL, folks. Let's hear from our sponsors from Trending, and then we'll get right into it with the review of the Cambridge Redhawks and Caledonia Corvairs.
This Trending segment brought to you by Best Western Plus Arden Park Hotel, located at 552 Ontario Street, Stratford, located steps from the Festival Theatre, while offering first-class accommodations with an extensive range of services, including conference center, banquet facilities, and heated indoor pool.
Okay, so before we get going, we got to give credit where credit's due, Halser. Shanker and Rhett both predicted a sweep by Cambridge, which happened. You and I had a 4-1. We gave Caledonia one game, but that didn't happen. So, Shanker, you were right on the money there.
Doesn't happen too often.
The Redhawks outscore Caledonia 18-4 in the 4 games. Caledonia thought they were going to fight their way through the series, taking 171 penalty minutes to Cambridge's 114. Cambridge was led by Reed Gamage, who had 8 points in the series. But in Halser, you had mentioned his name before. Some names that really surprised me that were the leading scorers for the Redhawks were rookie defenseman Riker Young. He had 2 goals and 4 assists for 6 points in the series. And then you also had rookie defenseman Alexander Forrest, who had a goal and 5 helpers for 6 points. Goalies Brandon Balcar had a .983 save percentage. Him and Aiden Hill split the games. Aiden Hill had an .897 save percentage. Halser, we'll start with you on this one. What did you hear about the series, and tell us what your thoughts are?
Well, it looked to be one-way traffic for a good chunk of it. I watched a good chunk of, I believe it was game 3. And, every time Caledonia got into Cambridge's end, it was a one-and-done situation. There wasn't a lot of sustained pressure there. A little too quick, a little too organized, a little too much talent. The goaltending is unbelievable. Like, to your point, 4 goals in a 4-game series. That's tough sledding, boy. There was never really a game where there was any doubt what was going on. And I can't help but wonder if Cambridge isn't a little extra fired up, because in fairness, the folks in the West have looked at Cambridge and they haven't given them a lot of respect. This is a team that won 44 or so games in a 50-game schedule. They were far and away the most points. And yeah, it's a top-heavy division, but at the end of the day, they are still an excellent hockey team. And I guess everybody has this image burnt into their heads of St. Mary's thumping them 9-1 way back like 4 months ago. And yeah, it happened. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter any more than any other game in November mattered anymore. So I think Cambridge looks a little extra motivated, even as, a team goes into the playoffs. You want to be playing your best hockey. You want to be playing it intensely. And looks like that's exactly what they're doing. They're a scary team, boy. It's going to be a tough go for them the rest of the way, but they look like they're ready for the challenge.
Schenker, what did you see when you were monitoring that series?
Well, when you only score 4 goals in a series, you're not going to go very far. And this, I hate to say it, this is your typical 1-8 seed, right? Where the 1 seed's just so much powerful than the 8 seed. And like any other junior team with these teenagers, when you get down and you're losing, you get pissy and you try to rough up the other team, and it doesn't work. And Cambridge just, from what I watched, they exposed them in so many bad ways. Like, they're quicker. They just threw the puck around when they wanted. Like when you only give up 4 goals, you can pretty much do whatever you want in this series. But I think going forward, we're going to see what this Cambridge team's all about. And like Halser said, like, you can beat up on these weak teams, but now once the good teams come in, and starting with Pelham and that goaltending, it's going to be interesting going forward.
Well, speaking of Pelham, let's get into that series. They swept Port Colborne Sailors. We all thought that was going to be a lot closer. Nobody had that series right. Both Halser and I thought it was going to be Pelham 4-2. You and Rhett had Pelham winning in a 7-game series, 4-3. So none of us got that series right. But Pelham outscores Port Colborne 11-4. Another team, Port Colborne, that had trouble scoring. Only 1 goal a game on average isn't going to do it. Pelham was led by Jack Havers. He had 5 points in the series, 3 goals, 2 helpers, and Landon Strathroy, he had 3 assists in that series. Not a whole lot of scoring. Goalie Logan Snyder, like you had mentioned, Schenker, he played all 4 games for the Panthers, 967 save percentage. Yeah. That is off the charts. Schenker, we'll start with you. What do you think of that series?
Well, I picked Port Colborne to win in 7, and fuck, do I look like a fool? But congrats to Zach Ronaldo. Like, he pushed all the right buttons. And speaking of Logan Snyder, when you have 2 shutouts, a GAA of 1, and you only made 119 saves, man, oh man, like, what a great system that Pelham team has. And I watched a bit of game 3, and again, it was like men against boys. Pelham just did whatever they wanted. They took a few penalties, know they could kill it off, and they just picked it up when they can. This is a dangerous matchup, I think, for Cambridge moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you both have said, Cambridge now really is starting to get into some serious games. Halser, what did you think about Pelham sweeping Port Colborne?
Well, what a statement. And that's, for the record, that is Eastern Conference All-Star Logan Snyder. He was in the best goalie in the East statistically, and he was given that award. And he that old playoff line about your best players being your best players. And that's what happened here. 15 goals in a 4-game series total. That's really stingy stuff, right? Especially at junior hockey. You look at the St. Thomas Chatham series, we'll get to that later on, but I mean, they were scoring 10 goals a game, and these guys only scored 15 goals between them in 4 games. So it was really tight. They're quite physical. I'm taken by this Pelham team. I really am. Any team that could be top 5 in the league in goals against and still lead the league in penalty minutes, like they just take penalties. They don't care, man. We'll kill them off. We're good. We're fine. You know what I mean? There's a swagger to this team. And I agree with Shanker. I think that Cambridge and Pelham is, everybody's talking about the other matchup, and rightfully so. But I think this matchup has the potential to be one of the best series of the playoffs.
Well, speaking of the next round, you've got Cambridge facing off against Pelham. The East, we know the matchups. The West is still undecided due to 2 series still playing. But let's quickly look at the matchups between Cambridge and Pelham quickly. The keys to Cambridge, you got leading scorer Reed Gamage, Cam Freeze, Kyler Morgan, Alex Forrest, who's one of their rookie defensemen, and Riker Young. He had a couple of goals that one game, I remember you mentioning, Halser. And then, like I said at the beginning, they've got 2 good goalies in Stratford's own Aiden Hill and Brandon Belcar. So those are the firepowers for Cambridge. Over with Pelham, you've got Jack Havers, Tyler Lee, Evan Gaudry, Robbie Dragusica. He's their rookie defenseman. Tyler Lee and Gaudry are rookies as well. Then you got Logan Snyder and Liam Edgecombe, who are both lights out. Edgecombe, the rookie, he had a .926 save percentage in the regular season. So like we talked about there last week, those are probably the best 1-2 tandem in the East by a mile. So it's going to be interesting what happens with those guys. But let's go around the horn and pick a winner for this one. Shanker, I'll start with you. Who do you think is going to win this series and how many games?
I'm going to take Cambridge in 7. Another player to watch out for Pelham is that Landon Chetskui. I believe that's how you say his name. He's one of those gamers. He's like a Claude Lemieux. He's going to put points in the net, but he's also going to be in the box and pissing you off. But I think it's going to be a homer series. I think every team's going to win at home. I'm going to take Cambridge in the end in 7.
Okay. Halser, who are you liking in this series?
Well, I tell you what, like I said, this is a fascinating matchup, and for me, this series is a case of the ocean versus the beach. Cambridge is going to come at you in waves, and Pelham is just going to stand up and take it. We know Cambridge is not a team to be pushed around. Their head coach Todd Bertuzzi against head coach Zach Ronaldo, and so we've got some NHL flair there in the coaching department. And I just see something in this Pelham team that I love, and I'm going to call an upset. I'm going to take Pelham in 6 games.
All right. I'm gonna stick with Cambridge because I like their goaltending. I don't think their goaltending's as battle tested as Pelham's, but I think they're good enough to get them over the hump. And when you throw in Cambridge's firepower, I'm going to say the Red Hawks in 6. Let's get into the Falcons win 4-1 over the Ayr Centennials. They outscored Ayr 26-10 in 5 games. Ayr took 146 penalty minutes to St. Catharines 84. St. Catharines was led by Tyson Dewar. He had 3 goals, 6 helpers. James Elliott, rookie forward, he had 4 and 4 for 8 points. Lucas Kissel, he had 7 points, and Dylan Schanbacher, he had a goal and 4 helpers for 5 points. And then with goaltending, Jacob Saranik, he played 3 of the 5 games. He had a .952 save percentage, and Cole Scullion, he played parts of 2 games for a .904. two good goalies there. What did you guys see? We'll start with you, Halser. What did you see with that series?
Well, one of those Dewar goals was in overtime in game 3 as well. This was a series for a little while. Ayr came back and won game 2 and tied the series up. And game 3 went to overtime, and then Dewar scored that goal, and then St. Catharines never looked back. So kudos for the pushback for Ayr. They were the only team in the East that didn't win a series that actually won a game. And they lost one in overtime. So at the end of the day, St. Catharines, as our old buddy Dennis Green used to say, they are who we thought they were. And they're a big, disciplined, talented team. That Mustafa is a fantastic hockey player, considering the guys that they lost off this team, and they're still this good. I'm really impressed with them. And there is a history of victory in the Niagara region for St. Catharines, having the most Niagara championships before the 3 conferences merged. So, standard stuff from St. Catharines, and I don't think anybody's surprised by it.
Shanker, what did you like about the Falcons win over Ayr?
Well, I like that everybody on their roster pretty much got a point.
Yeah, it was spread out.
Yeah, that's what impressed me was all 4 lines scored. The defensemen were scoring. And Jamison Fabro, I think it was game 3 or 4 I watched. He was fantastic. And congrats to Ayr for winning the only game of the Eastern playoffs. I think I had St. Catharines sweeping them, but Halser pumped up this St. Catharines team, and I wasn't too sure about them, but after watching a bit, they're very impressive, and yeah, they're tough.
Yeah, they are a well-oiled machine, and like Halser said, they've got that history down in the old Golden Horseshoe, and now the Go East, so they are really going to be a tough team. Let's talk about the Fort Erie Meteors sweeping the Brantford Titans 4-0. Fort Erie, their top scorers, Dylan Greenwald, he had 5 and 5, 10 points. Danny Adamo, we've heard that name many a times. He had 5 and 3 for 8 points. Tate Donald, he had 3 and 5 for 8. Owen Cressman, their top scoring defenseman, he had 6 points. And Raphael Tremblay in 4 games, he was lights out as well, a .929 save percentage. So some of the names that you aren't seeing, though, on the top, like Sam Tonelli didn't have a whole lot of points that series. And, they didn't need it, though, sweeping the Titans. But we'll start with you, Shanker. What did you think of that series?
Again, Tremblay was remarkable. He only let in 8 goals. And Brantford seemed to have a lot of push. Like, after that first game, I feel like Brantford, they stuck around. They just didn't have enough firepower to compete with them. And Dylan Greenwald, he impressed me. He was, one game I watched, he was all over the score sheet for them. And I like Fort Erie. I've been praising them all year, and I can't wait for this next matchup.
Halser, you've always spoke highly of Fort Erie. What did you see in this series?
Exactly what I expected to see. When you needed to play it tight, they played it tight. When you needed to play it physical, when you wanted to blow it open with some run and gun, they can do everything. They've got top end scoring, and clearly they have depth, to your point a moment ago. And the fact that Adams and Tonelli didn't light it up in this series, they had a lot of depth, and they are one of the most difficult teams to score on. And if memory serves, they led the East in goals against the regular season. So that is exactly what I thought we would get out of Fort Erie. And boy, howdy, is that ever going to be a fantastic series next round between 2 very familiar opponents.
Yeah, what was interesting, even with St. Catharines, their top scorers didn't light it up in their 4-1 series win over Ayr. Mustafi, Lockyer, Atkinson, and Arnold, they were their top 4 scorers in the regular season, and none of them were the top 4 scorers on their team for the first round. Now, it's only 1 round, but that tells you how spread out the scoring was, like you had mentioned, Shanker. When your top 4 scorers or top 5 scorers, Cal Petrovsky, he's in there too. They weren't even in the top 4. And so folks, that's a well-balanced team when your regular season top scorers aren't even having to hit the board for the first round. Who do you guys like in this second round matchup? You've got St. Catharines, where you've got Jacob Saranic. He was able to elevate his game. He had a 906 save percentage in the regular season, took it to 952 in the first round. And then Fort Erie, Tremblay, he pretty much stayed the same. He was around 930 for both the regular season and the first round. So who do you guys like? We'll start with you this time, Halser. Who do you like with St. Catharines and Fort Erie?
Well, I tell you what, we all wish we lived a little bit closer because this is what I would refer to as the rubber match. 2 years ago, Fort Erie beat St. Catharines in the final, ended up in the Southey round robin with St. Mary's and Listowel. And then last year, St. Catharines beat Fort Erie in the playoffs, and they won the championship, and they ended up playing Chatham in the Southey final. So this is the rubber match, and this is so one of those series where you just sort of bail and go too close to call because they know each other. The coaches know each other. The staffs know each other. The fans know each other. There's a lot of kids who've been on the team for their third season that have played them. And so it's going to take about 18 seconds to ramp up to maximum velocity, and it's going to stay there for 7 games. And I love St. Catharines' depth, but I'm going to go with the stingy Fort Erie defense and give them an overtime win. You're going to, okay, I'm going right to it.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Game 7, double overtime goal.
Double.
By Fort Erie wins that series.
Wow.
It's that close in my mind.
Schenker, what about you? Who are you picking in this series?
I'm on the same boat as Halser. This is too close to call. Both the teams scored 218 goals in the year, and the goal differential was only 4. Fort Erie gave up 4 less goals. I think this is going to be a long series too, with lots of overtime. And I'm going to take Fort Erie in 7. I like them. They're gritty, and yeah, they impressed me. I'm going to go Fort Erie in 7.
Fort Erie in 7. Okay, well, we all can't take Fort Erie. I'm going to end up taking the Falcons. I'm going to take them in 7. Their scoring is spread out, like we have said, and I think they've got adequate goaltending in Saranic to match Tremblay. So that's going to be interesting. But it should be noted, Saranic's an 08, and looks like he's kind of taken over the position over Scullion, who's an 06. So keep your eyes on that. But
this could be one of those series also where it's a 1-goal game and it could go 5. This could just be one of those series where Fort St. Catharines or Fort Erie might win every game by 1 goal and have a sweep or 5. You never know.
Yeah, you kind of feel like the over-under on empty netters is like 4.
All right, boys. We've got Dave Graff waiting in the wings. Let's hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with Dave Graff and Chew on That.
Chew on That with Graffer. Brought to you by Work Pub and Eatery. Get a taste of tradition and charm in our family-run pub. From hearty dishes to cold drinks, we've got everything to make your visit memorable. Located at 75 Wellington Street, Stratford. TNT Security, Inc., where security meets reliability. Call Todd Schmidt today for a security quote on your concert, dance, sporting, and alcohol event, business, property, or mobile patrol security.
Yes, Guy.
Hello.
Graffer's in the house. How
What's
are you,
going
brother?
on?
Look at this. You got a whole bunch of Americans in the background, or what's that picture all about?
It's just,
Is that the President's Cup?
yeah, no, I think it's the Ryder Cup.
Or the
from
Ryder
last year.
Cup, sorry.
Ryder.
Yeah.
There
Razor,
you
I
go.
love the Game 7 drop. That's good.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Chat GBT is a man's best friend. So
That's right. That's right. Frickin' another power or another special teams lost last night with a shorty and a PP there in the third, or second, whatever
tough.
period it was.
It's
It was about
tough.
their fourth breakaway on shorthanded. It was
You can't.
Yeah.
It's 3 shorties in a series, man. It's tough to.
Right.
Hey, they can still pull her out in Game 7 though. So.
And without divulging too much of our conversation we're going to have with Clarkey, on the same power play, they gave up a breakaway and a partial breakaway on a power play.
Yep.
So it is what it is. They're
short up for Game 7.
That's right.
I got that picture back there because I know we were talking, and I want to get to some more local fan behavior issues here. A couple of the specific that we talked about last week and that we all know that's gone on in the G. But that picture in the background there reminded me of last year when at the Ryder Cup where a bunch of US fans made it personal with McElroy and actually brought his wife into it, and like stuff like that. Like, you know, I'm a firm believer that, listen, you pay your money, boo all you want, cheer all you want, you know, ridicule guys, joke around, blah, blah, blah. But when you're getting personal with guys and you're throwing beer cans and throwing, like, that's just over the, like, come on, you know, and that's just over the top. And that's not what you're paying your $300 for to watch a Ryder Cup or $10 to watch a game in the G or whatever, right? You're there to cheer or boo and keep it, you know, user friendly type, you know, back and forth kind of banter and stuff and that sort of thing. I mean, I remember some personal examples of and Halls might remember this one. Kids umpiring at Dufferin Arena where, you know, close play at home in the 7th inning doesn't go Guelph's way, and there's fans running from the stands out towards the umpires, and, you know, we got to run in and get in between, like, you know, just stuff like that. Like, just fan behavior out there in general. We know it's tough. We know it's hard to sometimes hold back. And, you know, me, I'm as competitive as they come, and I know it's hard for me sometimes, but you always have to keep in mind, like we talked last year about umpires and coaches' treatment of umpires and all the examples we have of that. Fans are no different. I mean, I sat in Guelph one time. I won't mention the dad's name, but I got kicked out because of the dad. I was coaching, but I got kicked out because of the dad. And the umpire said to me, "Well, I'm kicking you out because I can't kick him out." I said, "You sure as hell can. Go tell him to leave. I want to keep coaching. You know, like, kick him out all you want. I don't care." Right? Like, you know, there's all kinds of examples we can talk about. 2016 when the Jays beat the Orioles in the wild card, when Encarnacion hit one of the big home runs, and the left fielder going back almost wore a beer can, I think, in the head. Right? Like, just stuff like that. Like, pay your money, go boo, go cheer. I was at 2 Leaf games last week actually, and coincidentally, and you can imagine some of the some of the feelings towards.
Well, there's money well spent,
right?
Well, actually, luckily it was freebies on both accounts, so I was lucky. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been there.
It's almost worth it then, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, almost worth it. That's what it is. But, you know, you just listen to some of the fans, and the 4 of us are fortunate enough that we're very knowledgeable, or we think we're knowledgeable about sports and stuff. But some of these guys, just some of the things they say, and I had a guy beside me with his girlfriend, I think, and I just can't even make up how far off he was in his assessment of players and what he's saying to the play. Nate and I were just looking at each other like, "Oh, here we go." Right? You know, but you pay your money, boo all you want, cheer all you want. But, you know, and I'll get to the local stuff here, and Halls, I'll get you to chime in with the other one. But, you know, here's what it came to in Stratford in Game 1 against London with what went on over by the penalty box in the old Almond Arena there. You know, it came down to a note, and you probably won't see this on my phone, but an email from our president that talks about racism, discrimination, working very closely with management to review what happened and take necessary action. Discriminatory, abusive conduct by anybody in attendance will not be tolerated. I mean, all this stuff comes from the code of conduct. The Stratford's aware of the incident that occurred during tonight's game involving inappropriate, unacceptable language directed at an opposing player. Like, all the stuff that the respect is the big thing, right? Like, respect that, you know, everybody's out there playing the same game. Respect the fact that, yeah, you know, it's just not acceptable. And for this to have to come out in a G series and even get to this point, it's just sad. And, you know, I I'm on the board, and I didn't even hear what the final outcome of this was, but I hope somebody was banned for the rest of the playoffs, or at least the rest of the season. I don't know. I don't know if you guys heard.
Well, just touching on it, for those that don't know, like Graffer was saying, at the Almond Arena during the Stratford London Nationals series, there was a Nationals player in the penalty box, and a group of, I don't even want to call them Stratford fans, but a group of people were heckling the London player. And I've heard different conflicting stories that the London player was giving it back to the fans. And then at the end of the day, the fans that were getting into it with the London player were accused of an inappropriate comment. Security was called. A group of people were removed from the game that were sitting in the stands. And then that's when Stratford was so embarrassing for the whole situation that they went on social media to apologize in an official statement to the player, to the team, to the organization of the London Nationals for what had occurred. Like, it's just ridiculous that they would have to go through that, because a couple of guys, are out on a Friday night and have no business. Like you said, Graffer, it's fine to, you pay your money and, have a little good-natured fun, some heckling, but I don't know what was said. Nothing has been proven in court, but it sounds like there was some racial comments being made. Whether that's true or not is yet to be proven.
Hopefully some action was taken.
Exactly.
I just want to spin a bit of funny on this, because it's a good old story. And Razor and Halsey, you might remember it, but you remember a defenseman that played in the early, right before your time, probably, Razor, a bit older than you are.
Yeah. He just finished up as I was coming in.
Yeah. Well, not against Strat. I can't remember who was against, but there was talk that he took a slap shot down in the nether regions at one point. And maybe was down a testy end of the day, end result, right? Well, I'll never forget one of the Midwestern finals back then. There was an old boy, actually lived up behind me here on Mornington, and I knew his kid was they sat up in that section down where Stratford attacks twice, down kind of in the booth end, up in that corner, and just would yell all the time. But listen, they would do it in the way that we would expect. You pay your ticket, you heckle guys, innocent fun, right? Innocent stuff. Well, there was one stoppage in play. Must have been I don't know if something happened or there's a little melee. I don't know, but I'll never forget it. I'm probably 10 or 11 years old at the time. He comes down, opens up that door that comes onto the ice down in that would be the
by the men's room,
the northwest corner by the men's room.
Yeah.
He opens that up and starts. All you can hear him yelling is, "Hey, one nut, let's go! Come on over!" He's yelling. He wants to take off again. Probably going a little bit over the line, but in much more good fun back then. That kind of thing was obviously not frowned upon as much 40 years ago, but 45 years ago, but. Nowadays,
back in the day of Archie Bunker and
exactly. Yeah.
But anyways,
that was kind of, those guys, they didn't cross the line. That maybe crossed the line that night, obviously, but 90% of the time they didn't cross the line. They paid their money. They had a good night on a Friday. The Alma wasn't licensed back then, so there was no one pounding 15 beers.
Right.
So, it was just all in good fun.
Just
so
Mickey's.
That kind of thing. But listen, pay your money, go to the game, boo and cheer all you want. Leave it at that.
Hey, you remember Pete Williamson?
Oh yeah.
Well, he was part of that crew that sits behind the bench.
And you know what? Yeah. He did it classy with play. He never crossed the line. Well, maybe
behind the penalty box.
A little bit with refs, but
and Doug Hughes.
He had his signs.
With the rubber chicken.
All the signs he had.
Yeah.
Like
they were classic.
Yeah. And these 4 young adults that got kicked out in game 3. Come on. They're old enough to know better. They looked over 20. They should know better.
And were they right behind the penalty box then?
Yep.
Game 3. It was on the Monday night.
Oh, it was on the Monday. Right. Yeah. It was on the Monday. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They looked old enough to know, put it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
I wasn't there for that game in Stratford, but I was in Strathroy on Saturday night when a fan yelled a homophobic slur toward the referee. Oh. I know he did it because I was about 8 feet from him when he yelled it. That's not a reflection on the Strathroy fans. Let me be quite clear. I got some things to say, and I'm going to say them, I guess. And I'm not taking this out on any one fan base. And I promise you that, because every single fan base, some are rowdier than others. But it seems that there's that one person that shows up once in a while in this league. You know, Graffer made a couple of references when he first came on, and he talked about those guys behind him who paid probably north of $500 for their tickets to go in there, act like jackasses. And then you've got parents who go over the line. You talked about them too. But there's another kind of a fan that is really getting under my skin. And they're the ones that have absolutely no connection to any team whatsoever. They come to the rink and they watch a bunch of teenagers play hockey, and they think that they can bring their petty little hatreds into the rink with them. All right. Twice in 3 days, we had this situation, and these are not the first occurrences. And last year in the finals against Chatham, and again, this is not a reflection of the Chatham fans at all, but there was one guy, and this guy decided that he was going to yell out at the top of his furry little lungs that the referee was receiving sexual favors from the St. Mary's coaching staff, and he was a lot more graphic about it than I am. And right beside him is 2 8 or 9-year-old girls. Okay. I agree. Come out, yell. You've heard me yell at the odd linesman because he seems to have the puck glued to his hand. I get frustrated. I get angry. I'm the same as everybody else. But stop bringing your petty hatred into the hockey rink. We don't want to hear it. We don't want anything to do with it. And if they got to talk like that, go out into the men's room and get it out of your system and come back in the rink and act like a goddamn human being.
Or yeah, good point, Halls. Or go home and watch it on Flow Hockey and yell at the TV and you're lonesome. How about that?
Right.
Like, yeah, I totally agree. And you know, I think you mentioned it, Halls, in the chat last week that some of the St. Thomas fans didn't even want to go back to Chatham for Game 3 because of,
I don't know what was up with that. There's that, you know. So
a lady went on Facebook. She felt so disgusted by, and you hit the nail on the head, Halls. It's not all Chatham fans. Unfortunately, it's one or two lunatics that are giving a black eye to the team by following
Chatham fans
them.
Are fantastic.
Exactly.
By and large, when you group them in, they're nuts. They're absolutely nuts. They showed up en masse in St. Mary's. They're wearing their jerseys. They're bringing their bells, and oh man, it was a lot of fun. It was like and they were all around me in the rink, and that was a 7-gamer, so I dealt with them for 4 games, right? And so, like I said, that dude down there, not Chatham fans, they're hilarious. They really are. I love how passionate they are about the junior hockey leagues. But
during Game 7, I stood where you stand. I always have trouble looking at the far right corner. So I went over to the other side where the visiting team comes out onto the ice, right there at center ice, where I can see everything. I was surrounded by Chatham fans, players. They were great. They were passionate, but they were respectful. And so it was just unfortunate that a St. Thomas fan took to Facebook on the GOHL Fans and News and posted how after Game 1 or during Game 1 in Chatham and even Game 2 in St. Thomas, that a fan or fans were going too far overboard. She didn't say exactly what they said or did, but she said that some of the St. Thomas fans feel so strongly about what that person was saying that they didn't want to go down to Chatham for Game 3. And it was just a really sad statement to make. And she wasn't looking for a pity party. I think she was just genuinely sad that St. Thomas fans were feeling to the point where they didn't want to go. I don't want to say they felt unsafe, but they just felt uncomfortable to go all the way down to Chatham and deal with this verbal abuse.
And this very likely could be the case of a very isolated number of Chatham fans and maybe a bit of an overreaction on the St. Thomas fans' part, right? So you throw that mixture into play. This is what could, not saying it's right if there is that small group of Chatham fans behaving like that, but it could be a combination of that and an overreaction from St. Thomas. Who knows? But still, there's no.
I just remember, like when I was playing in 85, 86 with the Cullitons, the old Listowel Arena. It was like the fans were right on top of you, and they were passionate, but they did it in a respectful way. and it was fun. Like,
It's fun when it's like that, right?
I was usually
It's fun.
back then. Listowel wasn't a very strong team, so I played a lot of those games, and they would be all over me.
You got to take the towel off a few times,
right? And guys were mouthing me off, and I remember my dad saying, like, "Geez, man, you're made of good stuff, taking all of that." And I'm like, "Dad, actually, it motivates me. It gets you going." And when I first got traded over to St. Thomas the following year, my first game was in St. Mary's. Well, what do you think the St. Mary's fans were saying to me when I was in St. Mary's playing for the St. Thomas Stars in my first game? But it was, once again, respectful. They were saying some zingers, right? Yeah. But it was all in a respectful manner. And so just want people to go support your teams, but just be respectful. Don't cross that line. Don't make organizations who have nothing to do with the situation have to write an official statement and post it on social media for a couple of, buffoons play or lack of character while they're attending these events.
And Clarkie and Nick Parr having to reach out and do all that work and draft that letter and stuff. They got enough stuff to do. They don't need to be having to do that stuff too.
Shout out to GM coach Kelly Corpse for the response that they had. They know it's not Stratford fans. They realize that. They publicly thanked Stratford for that statement, for the way they handled it, for how quickly they handled it. So it was just nice to see Kelly and his crew acknowledging everything that Nick, Clarkie, and executive did with the Stratford situation.
No, they did a great job, the two of them. Great job.
So hats off to those guys. So
have
fun.
Game 7.
Yes.
Shout out to Clarko and Nux and Willie and all the boys. Let's get a dub.
Yeah,
exactly.
Shout out to the fellas at work too. Get a dub and get down to work for a beer.
Absolutely. Good, all right, Dave Graff for Chew on
guys.
That.
Be good.
We'll hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Jason Clark in Buzzin' with Clarko.
Buzzin' with Clarko, a weekly roundup of the Stratford Warriors with Jason Clark, brought to you by Nick Hishin of Indy Mortgage, the independent mortgage company serving customers from coast to coast with access to well over 50 lending options available. Give Nick a call as he works for you, not the banks. FSRA license number 12403.
Jay Mysterio. Love it.
Oh my God, that's too cool,
folks. We have Jay Mysterio in the house. We got to
what
bring
an entrance!
Him back in.
Oh my God,
right? I was wondering who Jay Mysterio was. I wonder what he was going to.
That's what I was wondering too. Yes, hey, what's going on, Clark?
This guy,
not too much. What's happening tonight?
Some Jay Mysterio was on earlier. So
yeah, that guy,
right?
I mean, every once in a while he sneaks in. I get my wires crossed. So,
however, love it.
How's your Monday going?
Good. How about you guys? Nobody's jumping off any cliffs or anything, I hope. So
No. I mean, lots of people that have lots to say might be feeling that way, but
right.
Yeah, no, we're fine. Tough weekend for sure with having the opportunity to put the series away and losing both games, but I mean, it is kind of what we talked about 2 weeks ago here. I was saying to Halser last night in London, I might have said on that podcast, the Warriors in Game 7 at home in a full rink. So
right,
we'll have to go back and check the tapes with Gorilla Monsoon, but I'm pretty sure that
that was your call.
I expected a good long series, and things went well for us. Not game 1, but really good in games 2, 3, and 4. And then, I think we were probably a goal away from getting it done Friday night here when we had a 5-on-3 power play, up 3-1 at home. And, we didn't get it done on that power play. And that was kind of the turning point there, I think, really in that game. And, you guys pay attention to stats probably more than I do, but I was looking at them before we went down to London last night and again today. After game 4, we were sitting at 40% on the power play, 100% on the penalty kill. And that's completely turned now. And after 2 games, I think our power play is down to like 13 or 14%. And we've given up another shorthanded goal last night down there. And, both teams are pretty close. Like, we were a point away in the regular season, as you know. And I like I said just a few minutes ago too, I thought it'd be a tight series. And let's just see Wednesday night how important that point was in Game 50 down in Chatham for us to get that game at home Wednesday night. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure we'll go through the games here. But it's been a roller coaster for sure.
Well, we don't have to go through all 6 of them, but you hit the nail on the head. You guys were 5 of 12 in the first 4 games. You guys were 5 of 12 on the power play for a 42% rate. Your penalty killing was 100%, 17 of 17. London was 0 for 17 on the power play. They were 0%, and they were 5 of 12 for 58% on their penalty killing. And then you're right. It when you're up 3-1. You've got a 3-1 lead in Game 5. You guys score on that 2-man advantage. It's probably, the violins coming out, for
it's
them.
A deep hole. We get up by 3 goals. Yeah. Midway through the second period for sure.
And after 3 wins, you guys and them are so tight. There was 1 point after 50 games. There was only 1 point separating you and London. After 3 games in the playoffs, you guys have scored 21 goals. London scored 19. You guys have 100 penalty minutes. They have 94 penalty minutes. Like, it's just so close. Yeah. Like, your top scorer has 6 points. Their top scorer has 7 points. And speaking of their top scorer, rookie defenseman Cooper McCaslin got 2 goals and 5 assists. Like, these guys are just playing lights out. Like, your top scorer is a rookie in Cohen Galbraith. He's got 3 goals, 3 assists. Like, it's amazing that these young guys are stepping up when the lights are shining bright. And
both those guys are 50 games into their junior career, right?
I guess that gives Galbraith the Gordie Howe hat trick for the series.
What's that?
Didn't Galbraith have a fight?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, in Game 3.
There you go. You won't see that every day.
2 or 4. Yeah, he got into it there after Murphy got boarded.
Yeah, that was game 2. 1, I think.
Is it 2?
Game 2.
It was down in London. Yeah, it was Game 2. But
I think it was Dunbar and Haylock, maybe Game 1.
Right. Yes, you're right. But yeah, you just look at, you guys have 2 of your top 5 scorers are rookies in Galbraith and Murphy, and you got Dom Marshall tied for the scoring lead with 3 and 3. Broda's next with 2 and 3, and then Grady Murphy has 2 and 3, and then Brown has 1 and 4. And then over for London, you've got, like I said, McCaslin is tops with 7 points. Pomerleau has 3 and 3. Kiss has 3 and 2. My goodness, Kiss, he had that shorty there last night. And then Cody Wood, he's another rookie defenseman for them. He's got 5 assists. And then you probably don't want to hear it, but Jack McGurn's got 3 goals and an assist. But good for him, right? Like, he's found his position, and it's nice to see him doing well. But it's just one of those things where a shot here, a save there, like it's just something that we all talked about. We knew it was going to be a long series. And when you guys were told that, hey, if we can have a Game 7 matchup at the Allman Arena at the beginning of this series, you probably might say, all right, let's do it. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's, we talked about it in the final weeks of the playoff, or the playoff push, or the final weeks of the regular season. We talked about how great it would be, for a couple weeks there. We were close to maybe even sneaking up to grab third place if we have a few wins. But we stopped winning at the end of the season there as well. And then, caught a bit of fire here in the playoffs, but we got that all important point in that last game versus Chatham. And again, like that goal, Max Wildfang scored off the rush in Chatham with 40 seconds to go in the third period, maybe there. That was another real tight playoff game that we played there. So, everything that you said is bang on. Both teams are very, very close, and it's a difference of a bounce. Like Halser, I stood with Halser for the game last night, and I mean, there was 5 goals London could have scored that they didn't score probably, and we probably had 3 or 4 opportunities that we didn't score as well. Like the game, I think if the bounces were completely the opposite way, we might have been able to sneak out a win there. We could have lost 5-1. It was just it's this series. It's so close, and whoever gets the bounce and gets the break and gets the breakaway at the good time, or claps one in on the power play. It's so tight, and like you said, to have a game 7 at home, they're always exciting. I just hope we come out on the right side of it, being at home, and hopefully there's not much going on in the world of sports around on a Wednesday night. It draws a bunch of people from other areas surrounding Stratford as well, and I'm sure London fans will travel over from London. It's not too far of a trip, and with the rest of the series in our area really being done, it is an off night for Elmira as well, so we might sneak a few of those people into town to watch as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Speaking of fans coming to the games, you were just under 1,000 fans on Friday night in Stratford, and come on, folks, the team needs your support more than ever, and so put down your Netflix and your remote and get down to the Almond Arena and support these kids. They could really use your cheering and support at a Game 7 moment. What do you think the keys are for Wednesday night's game?
I think we just have to play our game, right, and not get caught up in anything and stay out of the penalty box. They're dangerous on the power play, moving the puck around like the 2 defensemen that you've talked about. They zip it around so well, and Campo and Pomelo, the way he shoots the puck, like we just can't give those opportunities up in a 1-game winner take all. So, there'll be power plays, but I don't think we need to take any extras. And, we really have to be disciplined on not taking any retaliatory penalties and just play our game and worry about ourselves. And I think, when we play that way, we've been real good against them. We've got caught up in it, or we get caught running around on our end, or, we just miss an assignment or things like that. That bodes trouble for us. So I think if we just do what we know we can do, we'll be fine. We get caught up in the other stuff, or we start going to the penalty box and getting into all the shit. Like, it's a time for a Game 7 isn't a time to prove anything, right? What we need to prove is we can get one more goal than them and move on to the next round, because we're not proving anything with an extra face wash that sends us to the penalty box, or slash in the back of the legs, or all that chicken shit stuff. That's part of playoffs. It happens, but we just need to worry about going north and south and putting as many pucks at Bertolin as we can, and get him moving and cause some traffic and chaos in front of him, so we can get a few by him.
Halser, what did you see? That was I think your first game live watching the Warriors in this series. What did you think down in London last night?
Well, having seen the highlights and watched a little bit of other games on a screen, that's the first time I've been in the house to watch one. I feel like a lot of last night's game kind of went the way I had predicted the series to go, where, London was really capitalizing on some things. But the couple things that I've noticed, number one, on the power play, they keep giving up these breakaways. And the one thing I noticed about Stratford from when they played St. Mary's is that when they get in the power play, they like to get the puck down low and into the corner, back to a point man who likes to pass it across, and then they'll get the shot off. And they're very good at getting in front of the goalie. They're also very good at getting tip in. Look at the Kip for tip in at the end of the period in Game 3, I believe it was. The difference now is that London's adjusted, and they're putting their forwards higher up, so that when they're going D to D, their forwards are right on top of them. And that's what caused the breakaways on the power play, is the forward coming out high and poking the puck away from the defenseman. So they're going to have to make an adjustment. I think it helps Stratford that there's 2 days off before Game 7, so they can start working on a little adjustment with their power play. The other thing too that is a little bit troubling, and you hope it's going to break out, they loaded up their top line with Kipfer and Wildfong and Cruz Ferguson, and they have combined for 8 points in this series. And so they were really quiet last night. They really weren't effective. And, at this point, I know a lot of guys aren't playing 100%, and I appreciate that. And maybe that's the case here, but that's a loaded up line that needs to be a little more impactful. The top line for London is outplaying the top line, the perceived top scoring line for Stratford. And so I think that's really important for Stratford in Game 7 is to get that top line rolling.
Yeah. Schenker, what do you think from the games that you've seen down at the Almond?
It's like Clarky just said, Stratford had all the bounces go their way the first 4 games, and they kind of then London kind of got the bounces like any series is going to go. But again, puck's got to hit that net. Like in Game 3, Stratford put the puck on the net, and good things happened. They weren't pretty goals. They were bouncing pucks going through Berthold, and he couldn't see them. And I think Stratford got away from that, especially last night, missing the net a lot. Just like Clarky said, get some traffic going, put the pucks on the net, and good things are going to happen. Like I don't think this should be going to Game 7. I think Stratford should have won this earlier. But hey, when you have 2 close match teams like this, it's going to happen. And I'm glad Stratford has Game 7. Like this is huge for them.
The other point I wanted to make is the fact that just last year, if you remember, the London Nationals were down 3-0 to St. Mary's.
Yeah.
And came back to 7. Game 7. Yeah. So there's been a lot of changeover on that team, but there's still that core group that's there. Mm-hmm. And they remember coming back from 3-0. So the deficit, certainly didn't phase them.
I remember they rode that Swedish or Finnish goaltender that was just lights out. And he was a big reason that London came back from almost being swept to taking the Lincolns to 7 games. Not quite the same goaltending display, but both of them have played well at different times. Both Bertolin and Bender have made amazing saves. It's just whoever gets the bounces and who can stand up when the lights are shining brightest on Wednesday night down at the Almonds. So, Clarky, we're rooting for you, big guy, and hopefully Wednesday night has you guys having to have discussions with the league about where you're moving on to the next one, because just quickly looking at that, don't want to put the cart before the horse, but you guys could either be playing Chatham, or if LaSalle ends up knocking off Elmira and upsets them, there's a strong possibility you guys could end up playing the Lincolns in the second round if that happens, if LaSalle upsets Elmira. So hope things go our way. We'll have to wait and see. We got 48 hours before we know what's going to happen, but all the best to you on Wednesday, brother.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Our group will be ready to go, and we'll give it everything that we can. And if you happen to get down to the rink early, I was talking to Jay Mysterio earlier, and I think he's running the stairs at 4 and guest posing in the lobby at 5:30. But then
right.
He'll disappear after that. So the league treats all Game 7s as a spotlight game.
Oh, okay.
So the league will be there doing all the pre-interviews, etc., that they do for the spotlight game. So that'll be happening Wednesday night too. So they'll be up in the front lobby. So I might have to talk to Jay Mysterio. He might be up there for a guest posing on the stage. No longer the Rotary Y Trophy stage. It's now guest pose upstairs between the golf nets.
All right. Well, we look forward to Jay Mysterio and Gorilla Monsoon and all the celebrities upstairs for that. But
you bet. Have a good week, boys.
Yeah, we'll
Thanks, you as well. All right.
All right.
Jason Clark, Director of Hockey Operations with the Stratford Warriors. We'll be right back after we hear from our sponsors with Chris Chessel and Chester's Perch.
You can't put a price on a good time. Chester's Perch, the Lincoln's Report, brought to you by the Boathouse Stratford, located at 30 York Street. Come see us down at the Avon River for pedal boats, kayaks, canoes, Juliet boat tours, and bike rentals. Enjoy great food and ice cream at the Riverside Patio Restaurant. Pet friendly and operated by the Herr family since 1965.
Oh, and he's even got the goal.
Even has the goal. Nice.
That is the goal.
Now, which goal is that?
That was
the
game
winner.
winner.
Oh, that was the series winner.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had to go there and experience the Shanker goal horn situation. It was pretty good. Carson did a
He
good
had a whole
job.
paper that Rhett gave him for evaluation for his
Yeah, that's good.
job on the horn.
Hey, it's a very important position.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
I tell you.
representing the Lincolns and Rhett, so he wanted to just make sure that it was done according to the standards they're used to. But
Oh yes, yeah, it was a good job, Carson. I'm sure he'll be called upon again if needed.
oh goodness. All right. Well, looking at that picture, let's get into the Lincolns taking down the Strathroy Rockets 4-1. Things really seemed to change, Chess, after you guys losing in Strathroy after game 2. It was basically total domination by you guys. After game 2, I was looking at some stats. You guys outscored the Rockets 13-1 the last 3 games of the series. You held star player Jake Ritson to only 1 Rockets goal in the last 3 games. He had 2 goals total in the series. You outscored the Rockets 18-6 in the 5 games. You basically wore them down physically after game 2 by the looks of it that I saw. Would take us through what you thought was the turning point of the series.
Yeah, it's a good point, Razor. It was a totally different week, right? We came out Monday night. We have to go back 3 games here, but we'll make it quick. But Monday night, I thought definitely that's when the tide turned. The game started out pretty well for the Lincolns. Again, as they've done pretty much all series, they came out playing really well, flying in the first period. Had some great opportunities, and once Lincoln Moore, it's kind of a funny goal, right? Lincoln was just kind of driving the net. Jack Clark kind of dumped it in towards him, and Lincoln actually never touched it. And I think Ronan was anticipating a tip, and he was probably blinded by Lincoln anyways on the screen. But yeah, it just kind of Jack threw it towards the net. Lincoln was there, but he never touched it, and it just kind of went in between Ronan's legs, I believe. So it's kind of a funny goal, but it got everything going, because up to that point, we've been putting on the pressure, but we were having trouble scoring on Ronan like we had all series. And it was just a really kind of a backbreaker right there, because that's by far the weakest goal he let in all series. And then we backed it right up 2-3 minutes later, Lincoln Moore again. So we were up 2-0, and then Haji got one before the end of the period, and up 3-0 in the first. I think everybody in the arena could really feel the tide turning, and like you said, the physicality was ramped up. The forecheck was fantastic. Puck possession was just dominant, and it was like that all week. Like from one game to the next, you could hardly tell a difference. We'll talk a bit more about game 5 here in a few minutes, but game 3 and 4 were almost carbon copy of each other. One was in the same areas, and the one down in Strathroy then following night was the same way. I didn't go Tuesday night, but I watched most of it on Flow. It was the same kind of an idea. It was just puck domination, winning the battles, the stuff that we didn't do a great job of in the first 2 games, especially game 2 down in Strathroy. But game 4 back in Strathroy, we, on their ice, we came in early and we just put it to them again. And just really impressed by the way we played. Like, both those 2 games, game 3 and 4, we were 60-minute efforts. And anybody that's been paying attention the last couple months, we've had some issues playing 60 minutes. We knew that we could outplay a lot of teams, but it's been being able to put it together consistently. And we had 3 really good games this week where we did that, and huge strides for some guys, right? Wortman was putting some pucks in. Lincoln, like we talked about last week, playoff Moose is here, and he's on fire.
Yes.
Ryan's on fire. So I went through a few things. You got some stats there, Razor. I got a few things too that blew me away. Shots for the whole series was 196, the Lincolns, and 140 for Strathroy. That just goes to show, like, once game 3, 4, and 5 came, it was just a matter of just constantly peppering the goalie. And things that we didn't do well in game 2, even in game 1, like putting bodies in front of the net and shooting the puck more often. There's been certain times this year where we've been a little too fancy, I think, and trying to make the perfect play. I thought the last 3 games we were just very, very disciplined at staying with, the plan. Get bodies to the net, throwing the pucks there, let these guys work. They got good hands in low, let them go, right? So really good stuff there, and if I look at the power play numbers too, this is probably our biggest concern going forward. As good as we played for 60 minutes, all 3 games, our power play was only 3 for 23. So, going forward, that's something the Lynx are going to have to continue to work on. That being said, the penalty kill was fantastic. Strathroy went 1 for 21 on their power plays, and that's with LeBlanc back in the lineup for games 4 and 5, and he's the quarterback, and he was moving the puck around very well. And I think there was a few times in those game 4 and 5, especially where, LeBlanc had that puck and you were just waiting for him to do something. But the Lynx did a great job of blocking shots, closing lanes. Our penalty kill was fantastic, pretty much throughout the whole series, except for the first 2 games. But, some really good stuff, So we'll talk a little bit about game 5, just because we need to talk about Seth Ronen's show that he put on Friday night.
Oh my gosh.
And he deserves a lot of credit. He was fantastic all series. You don't look at his goals against. Let's look at his save percentage instead. It was 923 for the series, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
But Friday night was unreal. Halser was there, Shanker was there. The Lincolns dominated from the puck drop right on through, just like they had in game 3 and 4. And it didn't matter what we did. Ronen was just unreal. He was stopping everything. We were putting guys on him. We were getting bodies right in his crease. We were making life miserable. We were shooting the puck at the proper times. And, we still had a few chest shots, but much better discipline by looking for some holes. And Ronen was up to the task. And, the kid made 46 saves, I guess, with the empty netter. Just a fantastic effort. And I just want to give a hats off to Ronen and hats off to Strathroy. I thought, for a team that probably wasn't in the mix until Christmas time, they really turned things around and had a great second half this season. And, they were a couple bounces away from, this could have been easily a 6 or 7 game series, which I thought it would have been the way it started. But, the Rockets, a good young team, and they got a lot of talent and well-coached team. And Ronen was unreal. He deserves a lot of credit for getting them to this point. But all in all, the Lincolns just dominated, and, they showed that they were the better team, which was great to see, because I think a lot of us in Lincoln land were a little nervous. We weren't sure what we were going to see, because they had been a little inconsistent the last month or so. So it was definitely good. And then our big gunners came to play, right? Like I mentioned, Moore's got 6 points in 5 games. Hodgie's got 9 points in 5 games. Fortman's there with 4 points, and Weir's got 4 points. Those are the guys that we need to, we need to keep them going. And, if we can get McQueen Spence going a little bit here, it's definitely going to be good. He's had a bit of a tough spell. I think that goes back to last playoffs. Halser, if you can remember, I thought he had a really tough playoff last year too.
Nothing to go in the net for him last year. Remember, 2 years ago, he was the playoff MVP.
Yeah.
And last year, he couldn't put the puck in the ocean. He's just back from a nasty injury. And you could tell the first 2 or 3 games, he was just trying to get his timing back. But you can also see that they're trying to set him up a little bit, especially in game 3 when they were up. Bradley put Moore with the captain, and it's like, just feed him, man. Just keep feeding him, see if we can get him going. He did score the empty netter in game 4, which felt good. But yeah, that was, if I think I said to you, if it were a perfect night, game 3, they're up 6-0. I said, if it was a perfect night, we'll get the captain scoring too, and then have him going for the rest of the series.
Well, before we leave those 2 guys, McQueen Spence and Ronen, I have to give a shout out to that save Ronen made. Like, that was the save of the series, save of the playoffs, where you had Moore and McQueen Spence going down in the second period there in game 5, and Moore passes it over to him. Ronen does the splits, and McQueen Spence, if you look at the 519 video, he had his arms in the air as he's cutting left. He had his arms in the air, and then he realized that Ronen saved it, and I think it went up into the netting, and they blew the whistle dead. But My God, what a great play by Moore and McQueen Spence, and an even better save by Ronan sliding across doing the splits. So
that was scary. It made it so intense, that game, because you felt all night, like for the whole second period, you felt, you know how you can feel in a hockey game, it's like, oh, here it comes. But they never got that goal. Like you felt like they were about to blow it wide open any minute now, but they couldn't score the first one. And then all you could think about was, are we going to lose 1-0 to this team with about 60 shots?
Because it was nothing when he made that save. It was still nothing.
It was nothing till about 5.5 minutes left in the hockey game. And both teams took penalties in the less than 10 minutes to go. And and so finally that power play came through, and Chess, I thought it was unbelievable patience by McCauley to drag the two guys down low and then find Elzinga in the slot. And I got to say, selfishly, I'm pretty sure that makes me the heater, because if you guys, we went in to talk to Bradley before the game, and who was standing out at the trainer's table? It was Elzinga. And I said, go get one tonight, Zinger, or something like that. And, so I'm taking 27% credit for that goal.
As nice of a goal it was with Elzinga, what a saucer pass from McCauley over 3 sticks. You can't really tell.
He showed, he took the forward down. He got the defenseman on the ice. He took the forward down with him. And there's Elzinga 25 feet from the net, all alone in the slot.
Right at the hash marks. But
let's rewind that game back to the first period and the save Booth Houseco made on that 2-on-1, the pad save. Like he was
old school.
He was fantastic too all game. He made some highlight saves himself to keep that game scoreless.
And I wanted to mention too that like not getting nearly enough credit is how well Booth Houseco played. And I want to say this too, and I mentioned it to Coach Bradley. I said, after the first period of game 2, it's 3-0. And there was a lot of chatter up in the stands with Lincoln fans about changing goaltenders. And, you give up 3 in a period, but he stuck with them. And
did somebody on this podcast say to stick with him and ride him? I don't know if anybody said that at all.
I don't know. Possibly. You can have 27% of the credit for his good play then. So anyway, all I'm saying is that after that third goal went in, over the next 11.5 periods, he gave up 1 goal.
Yeah.
And so for as good as Ronan played, and I realized that there was about a 50 or 60 shot difference in the totals, that doesn't mean anything to me. His save percentage was about .987 after that third goal went in game 2.
Yeah. Booth Houseco for the series had a 1.2 goals against, .957 series save percentage, lights.
So like I said, they gave up 6 goals in the series, but Strathroy scored 5 of those goals in the first 4 periods of the series.
Yeah.
And only won the rest of the way. And that was Booth Houseco, and repaying the good faith with the coach for leaving him in for that game 2. So
and both teams had 6 power plays due to one referee trying to ruin that game.
Yeah,
and I'm glad he didn't. And I'm just going to give a little shout out to a female linesman, Marlo Schott. It's the first female I've seen do a goal game, and she did a great job on the lines. And she took a couple sticks to the head and a few scrums, but good job.
We've had some interesting linesmen and referees all series, but
I love the fact that she got the puck on the ice without having
drops the puck.
Exactly.
First attempt.
I mean, game one was so bad. St. Mary's was sending in non-face-off takers because they knew he was going to get kicked out.
Yeah.
The second guy would always go in and take the draw. And so I saw it down in the far end there where they put Colebrook in to take the draw and left Hodkinson, put him over the left wing. Sure enough, he twitched, got kicked out of the zone. They bring in Hodkinson, he wins the face-off back to the point, and they had possession. So I love the fact that she got the puck on the ice.
Yeah, she's good. And, hopefully Stratford, I think they'll take care of business Wednesday. I feel pretty good about it. It would be something.
Do it. I want to see that Elmira series. Two of the best games in that barn all year long were St. Mary's and Elmira. And with all due respect to Stratford, that will be cool. But for quality of just wanting to watch the hockey, I really want an Elmira St. Mary's series.
It's 1-1 right now after the first.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But we knew about LaSalle, right? Nobody wanted to play them.
That's right.
No.
Yeah,
Shots are
it was
18-8 right now. 18-8 for Elmira in shots.
Wow.
And looking back, like Elmira's got to be not kicking themselves, but they got to be going, okay, we ended up in second. We ended up ahead of St. Mary's. What's our reward? A, huge travel, and B, a team that is one of the scariest in the league right now. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're going to be talking about that series next with your son and Rhett's review.
I guess the other thing too that was noteworthy in that game was the return of Oliver Lacko. Talk about him.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, it's nice to see him back playing healthy. So
yeah, he just really makes that lineup a little tougher, doesn't he, Halser? Just having him there down the middle of that.
He's so smart. Line. He reminds me of a Michael Pekka type of player.
Yeah.
Good at everything.
That's good. Yeah.
But Chester helped. Like that's the best lineup I think I've seen the Lincolns dress this year.
That was
solid.
That lineup right there that's what we need the rest of the way. Everyone stays healthy. It's going to be tough to
probably
beat.
The first time in 6 weeks that those 12 guys have all been healthy.
Yeah.
And your neighbor laid out a few good hits there Friday.
Yeah, I thought Chase had a fantastic series. He doesn't always show on the game sheet except for maybe in the penalty column, but he just sends, he's always in guys' faces. There's lots of chattering going on. He's out there smiling, and he plays the game the right way. He plays hard. He's not dirty at all. He just plays hard, and he's just kind of your old school kind of mid 80s, maybe early 90s kind of guy. That's
Canadian power forward, man.
I love it. I love the way he plays, and
love watching him play.
Yeah, and it's just great to see him develop like that, right? So
I've got his jersey from the auction. I'll have to get him to sign it for me.
He might be worth something someday, Halser. Come on.
It's worth something now, Chad.
Of course. Yeah. Be better with a Sutherland Cup logo on it.
Yeah, the value goes up immensely with a Southie to his name. So
truth.
All right, Chess. Thanks for your report as usual. Go Lincolns, and we look forward to talking with you next week, brother.
Yeah, we'll figure out where we're going next, and have a good week, boys.
You as well. Chris Chessel for Chester's Perch. We'll hear from our sponsors, and we'll bring in Rhett Chessel.
Rhett's Roundup, sponsored by Deal Sports Group, specializing in custom teamwear, uniforms, and apparel such as hockey, baseball, soccer, volleyball, basketball, and more. Our online stores are used mainly as a fundraising platform. We create custom designs for clothing and hard goods. They're purchased through the DSG website and shipped to the team organizer. A 20% kickback is given to the association or individual team. We also sell promotional corporate apparel and hard goods and offer many different decoration options that include embroidery, DTF prints, sublimation, twill, leather patched, and a lot more.
There you go.
Yes, Guy. How are you, brother?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. So we got a couple of great series to talk about. One is completed. We'll start with Chatham and St. Thomas. The Maroons take out the St. Thomas Stars 4-0. Now, it wasn't like an easy series there at the beginning. One game, I think it was game 2, went to overtime. But they outscore the Stars 22-13 in 4 games. Chatham only takes 55 penalty minutes, fewest in the West. St. Thomas took 76 penalty minutes, the second fewest. And after 3 games, Chatham had a 31% power play. St. Thomas had a 30%. And Chatham's penalty killing was at 70%, where St. Thomas's was at 69%. So really, really close teams. We'll start with you, Halser. Like, what did you think of this series and the highlights that you saw?
Well, I think it kind of went exactly as I thought it would. I mean, I thought maybe St. Thomas would win a game, but I knew they would score the way they play the game. And I also knew that they weren't going to have much success stopping a juggernaut called Chatham, who now have got Dylan Richter back in the fold. And now he's got 4 games in under his belt to get the rust off for whoever gets him in round 2. But full marks to St. Thomas for, staying with it in every game. They, it wasn't just the overtime. It seemed like every time Chatham got a lead, St. Thomas would just come right back. They love to fly the zone on the far side, get that stretch pass, score a lot of goals. And there were 30 goals scored in the first 3 games of that series. So finally, Chatham kind of took control in game 4 there and kind of broke their spirit a little bit. But, Chatham is who we think they are. And, Chatham doesn't take a lot of penalties. And as I've often said, when you're faster than the other team, you generally don't take a lot of penalties when you're getting the pucks quicker than everybody else. So their coach, Brendan Feezy's got them humming along. They've won, I think, 15 straight going back to the regular season. I'm pretty sure they won their last 11 straight. So, whoever gets them in round 2, good luck with that, man. They are just hauling ass right now.
Yeah, these guys are definitely the number 1 team in the playoffs right now with their scoring, their goaltending's pretty good. Rhett, what do you like about the Chatham Maroons? What did you see when you were watching the highlights and checking the box scores?
Well, of course, we just said Chatham, they love to score, but one thing that's really concerning is that they've given up, I believe, 13 goals in the first series. I believe a couple of the games they gave up 4. So that's really concerning. If you're Chatham, you're saying you can't give up that many goals every game if you want to repeat Sutherland Cup, because you can score as many of the goals as you want, but you can't be giving up 5-6 goals every game. So Chatham, they need to work on their defense. Maybe de Blasie's had some issues, I don't know, but I'm not surprised it was a clean sweep, but I'm surprised St. Thomas maybe didn't win a game.
Schenker, what did you see on the highlights and the box scores with that series?
Just like Rhett said, like it's okay to score 6-7 goals a game, but you can't be giving up 4 or 5 either, just because either A, you think you got the series in the bag and hey, St. Thomas can score. We'll score 2 to their 1. And from some of the highlights I've seen, they did leave de Blasie out. They hung him out to dry a few times, the defense. And after game 2, once Chatham won that game 2, I kind of figured it was going to be a clean sweep. And like Halser said, now that Chatham's fully healthy, they're going to be dangerous. But they got to shore up that defense and just not take anything for granted.
Well, what I thought was really interesting, and it seems to be the tale of a few teams this year in the playoffs, Chatham's top scorers didn't really do a whole lot. LaChance only had 4 points. Richter had 3 points. Carter Chadwick, he only played 1 game, but he didn't register a point in the 1 game that he played. The top scorers for the Maroons were rookie Xander Aiken. He had 2 and 4. Zanuto had 4 goals and an assist. Aiden Edwards had 3 and 2. And Ewan McChesney had a goal and 4 helpers. That is just such a good team where you want to talk about spreading out the distribution of points. You've got LaChance, Richter, and Chadwick not even really doing a whole lot in that series, and they did just fine sweeping St. Thomas. Just looking,
and scored 6 goals a game while they did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So just quickly looking at St. Thomas, you got to give a shout out to their top 4 rookies that scored for the Stars. Surprisingly, Miles Dunn had an off series. He only had 2 assists in the 4 games, but shout out to Elon Legalic. He had 3 and 3. Alex Smith, he had 2 and 3. Wyatt Cameron, he had 3 and 1. And Jimmy Sutherland, he had 4 assists. And one of the more puzzling things was the goaltending of St. Thomas. Both goaltenders were under 900 in save percentage. They each split 2 games. Dylan Durno had a 447 goals against with an 896 save percentage. And Will Camputero, who we thought would have been the starter and would have been riding him the whole series, he had a 526 goals against and an 875 save percentage. So definitely not numbers that either one of them would be happy with. But I think if you got a guy like Seth Ronan that single-handedly can't do it, those 2 guys weren't going to be able to beat a well-oiled Chatham machine either. So Okay, let's talk about the other series going on. You've got the Elmira Sugar Kings and LaSalle Vipers now all squared up at 2 each. Elmira won the first 2 games at home, 4-1 and 2-0. In game 2, they outshot the Vipers outshot Elmira in Elmira 50-36, but Liam Reed absolutely stole it, stood on his head, stopping all 50 of 50 shots. Losing goalie Jake Winbeal stopped 34 of 36. Halser, what have you seen in this series?
Well, I mean, this is the series that we thought it would be. I mean, everybody said the same thing. You don't want LaSalle in the first round because they're just a different thing. When we did the handicap on this, somebody took LaSalle, I think, didn't they, in this series? I thought somebody took an upset.
No,
I think Rhett did.
Actually, I did. I took LaSalle 4-3. I did.
I called Elmira in 7 as well. So, we knew what we were getting here. And when you look at the guys that they picked up, the junior A players, they picked up Brocklehurst and Costello. And on top of that, Grady Spicer's got a couple of goals for them as well. So, I mean, and when you think it's 2-2, and in game 2, LaSalle had 50 shots and went over 6 on the power play and lost 2-0.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's 3-1 for LaSalle.
Yeah.
And so this is, they're 1-1 at the end of the first period. And after we're done with this, I'll probably hop on the flow and give that a look to see how that game ends up. But holy mackerel, man, these guys are exactly what we worried about. I know how good Elmira is. I've seen them play several times. But this team in the last 6 or 7 weeks just has a potential to be a real heartbreaker, and they could potentially pull this off.
Schenker, what are your thoughts from the highlights that you've seen?
Well, after game 2, kudos to LaSalle for fighting back to tie this series up. And it's as even as it's going to get. So you have 145 saves for Jake Winbell and 141 saves for Liam Reed. Both have 1 shutout, and their goals against are 2.27 and 2.29. So this is a very even series.
Yeah.
And my guy to watch out for, Grady Spicer, is living up to his playoff. He has 4 points now, including that assist tonight. So,
okay.
Hey, kudos to LaSalle. Maybe they heard me when I said I wasn't impressed with them, but they're slowly making a believer out of me.
Yeah. I just had a feeling, just the way that they were playing. And after that game, one of their last games of the regular season over in St. Mary's at the PRC, where Winbeal was unconscious, I just thought these guys, and then like I had mentioned before on the previous podcast, getting Brocklehurst, getting Costello, like those 2 guys alone. I was looking at the penalties, and in game 3, you've got Reed had a roughing penalty and Brocklehurst had an interference. So you knew, being down 2-0, they're like, okay, he just stopped all 50 shots we threw at him in game 2. We got to get this guy off his game. And so I guarantee you that Brocklehurst went, okay, I'm going to, get him rattled a little bit. And at the end of the second, Morey got an unsportsmanlike, because I think they were down 3 or 4-0 by that point, but they have got Elmira's attention. Like Elmira now, like I had said to your dad there, Rhett, what do you get for ending up in second place? Oh, you got a long road trip with a very, very dangerous team. So,
So how huge was that last game of the regular season where Chatham got that point?
Right.
Otherwise, Elmira would have been playing St. Thomas, and Chatham would have been stuck playing these guys. At least it would have fixed the travel issue.
That's right.
Well, Chatham could play LaSalle second round if it's the upset, but LaSalle reminds me a lot of last year Brantford Titans when they knocked off Air. It's like almost similar to this series. Brantford was a 7 seed, Air was a 2 seed, and Brantford won up 3-0, and then Air came all the way back to force the game 7, and then I believe lost the game 7. I don't know what the score was, but I remember watching it on flow, and it was
I was there.
Yeah, it was a pack burn, and
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and it won't shock me if LaSalle does it. They're still tied at 1 halfway through the period, so it's something really interesting is going on. And as a Lincoln fan, Stratford St. Mary's is a dream come true. I think this is the closest we've ever been. It could happen, but message to the Stratford Warriors: win Wednesday night. Hopefully, they get a good crowd over 500. And
That's
go
not a good
Warriors,
crowd.
go! That's the only time I'll say that.
Well, we love your support, brother, but we're looking at 12 to 1400 for
Ooh,
Wednesday night.
it's a little
I
steep
think
for Wednesday.
I think they can do it. I think they can do it because with it being a game 7, and hopefully we can talk Staggy and Downey and Robbie, the boys there, maybe get them into $5 beers like the Irish used to have there a couple of years ago. That would really get guys' attentions. But
And the Lickets could also play a London, who they have so much history. I could write a whole essay on London St. Mary's playoff series, but I know
It'd be 3
Lincoln
years
fans
in
are
a row
sick
for
and
that.
tired of going to London in playoffs. So Stratford would be a great taste, but
that would
Elmira
be
would be fun
good.
too. Elmira would be a great series. It was a coin flip. It's really a coin flip.
Well, like Halser said, like if you want to get into track meet and, back and forth,
It's more than a track meet.
Elmira is probably that team. Stratford's going to be a little bit slower, clogging lanes. Stratford does not want to get into a track meet by any stretch. So it would be 2 very different series if St. Mary's played Elmira or Stratford. So we'll just have to wait and see. We'll know.
Yeah, all I know is that Lincoln fans will show up in the thousands, whether game 1 is Friday night against London and Stratford, or we have to wait till probably maybe next week for game 2.
No, you'll have a game on. There won't be a game Friday. I can't see. I think Saturday.
Well, if Stratford wins, I think, or London, I think if Stratford or whoever wins the Stratford game, I'm hearing rumors game 1 could be Friday.
Because they've got game
Or
5
Saturday.
Game 5 tonight with Elmira. And then when do they play game 6?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
And then game 7
Thursday.
Thursday.
Game 7 Thursday. That's right. Yeah. So
I think Saturday everything's going to start.
If it's Elmira, most likely Sunday night. That's their regular home night.
Yeah, most likely.
Right.
Same
I
with
would
Chatham.
love to get that.
It wouldn't surprise me if they both started Sunday night if Elmira wins. If LaSalle wins, I don't know.
Yeah,
Hopefully Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully Saturday against Stratford. Yeah.
Well, we're going to be sticking to it. Are you coming over Wednesday night, Red, or are you just going to watch it? Nah.
No, I watch on the box score. I'm not that dedicated.
Come on, Red.
All right.
Tell Connor I say thanks to the horn. You did a good job.
Yeah, Carson loved it. Yeah,
Good.
he had a good time.
Good.
All right, Rhett. Thanks so much for doing this, and we look forward to talking with you next week when we know who the second round matchups are.
Yep, we'll talk to you then.
Okay, Rhett Chessel for Rhett's Review. We'll hear from some sponsors, and we'll be back with final thoughts.
Railside Organics, Stratford's first and only Indigenous-owned and operated organic dispensary, located at 29 Monteith Avenue, serving those in need with holistic remedies. Come say hi to Curly and his staff and see why everyone is recommending Railside Organics. Call Bick Heating and Cooling for all your heating, cooling, and plumbing needs. Proud Rude Pro partner. BickHeatCool.com or 226-921-4848. Your home team specialists. Taking care of Stratford and area since 2013. Vreda Veld Painting. Servicing Stratford and surrounding area. With over 20 years of experience to help you with all your painting and decorating needs. On time and on budget. Eisen Canada Inc. is a trusted automotive parts manufacturer located in Stratford, Ontario. As part of the global Eisen Group, the company produces precision components like door frames, sunroofs, touch sensor systems, and power back doors. Supplying leading automakers such as Toyota and Lexus, Eisen Canada is committed to quality, innovation, and excellence in manufacturing.
Okay, final thoughts. Schenker, we'll start with you.
It's going to go to the MLB. The boys' summer start this week. The Yankees and Giants play a Netflix special on Wednesday, but then the real opening day starts Friday. Also, we have some great hockey going on in this area, folks. The OHL playoffs start this week, so get out there and support the O and the Go in your local area.
Halser?
Well, I also have a baseball thought. I want to give a big fat shout out to Team Venezuela winning the World Baseball Classic over Team USA in an absolute instant classic. 2-0 in the bottom of the 8th. And
Bryce Harper.
Harper hits a 2-run bomb to tie it up. And, you know, all Canadians are going, oh, they're going to walk this off in the 9th. And we're going to have to listen to them again. Because the U.S. sports have been on such a heater over the last 8 or 10 months.
Yeah.
With their Olympic gold and, you know, they beat Canada in baseball. So, but in one of the most bizarre decisions I have seen, they had Mason Miller, the guy, the top reliever in all of baseball, who at least top reliever who isn't named Edwin Diaz, and his 103-mile-an-hour heater sitting in the bullpen while we watched another guy come out and give up a run. And I loved it. I just, like, as far as I'm concerned, I've managed 1,000 games. And if I'm in a tie game, in a championship game, I'm bringing my best arm in. I don't care what the situation is. I'm bringing my best arm in. But this is what happens when you have a guy who's a TV personality instead of an actual major league manager. He just, you know, it's next thing you know, they'll be making guys on TV, you know, into politicians. Anyways, a shout out to Venezuela. And the thing that was beautiful was Danny Palencia, tears welling up in his eyes as he's trying to throw a pitch with 2 strikes on the hitter, and just gassed it in at about 99, and it got past the pitcher and then touched off. Just a wild celebration. Means so much to those people, not just the ones on the ball field, all those Venezuelan people that have, let's face it, they've had a rough couple of years, man.
Oh, yeah.
And for them to have this as a distraction is just so wonderful. And that's the nice thing, because not only did they win this tournament, they also qualified for the Olympics in LA in 28. And so, you know, it was a beautiful game to watch. The excitement, I've said many times on this program, if you ever get a chance to watch Latinos play baseball, go to the park and sit with them. You'll have most fun you've ever had at a ballpark in your life. So kudos to Venezuela. I'm so happy they got it done.
All right. Well said, guys. For Ian Shank and Brian Hawley, I'm Gary Ray, and you've been watching episode 25 of the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast.
Peace.
See you later.